You've heard the story, and we've really been covering it here extremely well on Sun News. A 4-year-old girl draws a picture of a gun. A teacher is appalled, a social worker intervenes, the police are involved, a father is strip-searched, humiliated. It's not unique, and you know what? It could happen to you. Now, Chris Sims is in Kitchener, where this nasty little fascist episode occurred. Chris, is there some sort of background or context that we've all been denied knowledge of? Is the father really a gangster? Has the child been involved in crime? What's going on here?
No, the 4-year-old has not been involved in anything like that. The father, while he had a scrape with the law, which appears quite minor, 5 years ago, back when he lived in Toronto, he's since put his life together. They're very young parents, Michael. I can't stress this enough. They were in their early teens when they got together. They got pregnant, they stayed together, and they're now 26, and they have 4 children and 1 on the way. They packed up 5 years ago, moved here to Kitchener, and he actually is now a certified life issues counselor. And at one time was apparently even offered a bit of work at this school where all of this went down. So no, there isn't a backstory here connected to any of this. And the one little teeny missing piece of the puzzle is what the little girl said to the teacher after she drew her drawing. Apparently it was that conversation with the 4-year-old that prompted all of this.
Right. They sound like a model family. There's young people, she gets pregnant, they keep the child, they raise a family, they have more children, they abide by the law, they do the right thing, move out to a smaller town to try and get a home and so on. Now, in terms of what the 4-year-old may have said, we have 4 kids. They've all been 4 at one point. 4-year-olds say all sorts of things. They're convinced of the existence of Santa, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny. You don't take everything they say as being gospel truth.
Well, even though Santa is real, Michael,
yes,
they do say all sorts of things, yes. They do say all sorts of things, in all seriousness. And that's what I kept asking people, saying, you know, even if she said something to the effect of, you know, do you have a gun in your home, honey? Yes. Well, what does it look like? Oh, it's big and it's black and my brother's pointed at me all the time. How did you go from that to calling the police, to getting a strip search done on this man, to getting their home gone through, only to find a clear plastic toy that projects little purple plastic pebbles that look like gumballs?
Right.
That's what everybody's wondering about. And also, Michael, this is new today. We don't have the drawing. Nobody's been able to see the drawing because it was drawn on a whiteboard and erased. It was not drawn on paper with indelible ink or crayons. And I asked the folks here at Family and Children's Services here in Kitchener, well, did you take an image of this? No. Well, who's seen it? I don't know. Who's seen it other than the teacher? I don't know. They can't tell me if police saw it, if social services saw it, etc. They keep saying it triggered a discussion, it triggered a disclosure, we had to follow protocol.
Now, if anybody thinks we're blowing this one up, be warned here. I mean, I've dealt with other stories like this where a child maybe has been spanked, gently spanked, and a teacher overreacts, and there was a father I knew who was taken off to prison he spent the evening in prison, for goodness sake. Have the police in this, because they strip search, I don't think they even had a warrant, have they apologized for the way they treated this man?
Not yet. For the policeman's part, they are conducting an internal review.
Right.
They've looked over what happened over the weekend and they went, maybe that wasn't quite what should have went down. And so they're reviewing their case. The school says we did absolutely nothing wrong, teacher's exactly right, and we're not telling you her name. And the social workers said, nope, we do it all again tomorrow. And they won't apologize personally to the family. They're sorry if they're stressed. They're sorry they're upset, but they won't apologize for any actions. They said they followed it to the letter. They'd do it all again tomorrow if it happened again.
Well, they're lying through their teeth. And indeed, the stress that this 4-year-old could have been caused, and the lack of family unity. I want to play a clip here because I think this is a sort of pompous, arrogant, intrusive attitude some of these inflated little mediocrities have. Let's see what one of the officials had to say, please.
This is a difficult situation for the family to be in, and we do work hand in hand with these families because we co-parent. So obviously we hope that we could move forward.
You don't co-parent, mate. You don't co-parent at all. You're a bureaucrat. They're teachers. The parents are in the home. They parent alone.
I asked him about that. I said, could you clarify that for me? Because I've never heard that term before. What do you mean by co-parent? And he said, oh, well, you know, we have the best interests of the children at heart. We look out for their welfare. We guide them. We nurture them. We shepherd them, that sort of stuff. And therefore, he termed it co-parenting. I'm not sure, Michael, if this is a term that's used in pedagogy, in the way that we're now training teachers in teachers' colleges, that sort of thing. For the record, the Family Services, I asked her, do you guys call yourselves co-parents? She said, no, we don't use that term. We use caregiver. We are caregivers, parents are caregivers, parents are also parents, etc.
Look, Kris, you know as well as I do that most people in teaching are terrific. A lot of social workers, fewer I would argue, but a lot of social workers are very good too. And most cops don't want to go in and abuse an ordinary family. But certainly there are young bureaucrats, teachers, social workers and cops who have been given an agenda, and that is that the family is not a potential for love and understanding, but the family is a potential for abuse and dysfunction. And I think that we're going to see more and more of this sort of intrusion as the years go by.
It all depends. They are very young, and that's why I was so curious to know which teacher this was.
Yeah.
Does this person have children themselves? Are they able to understand what 4-year-olds think and say? Or what went into her reasoning? Where was that judgment leap from picture on a whiteboard to that conversation to call in the cavalry?
Yeah.
They won't tell us because they're circling the wagons around this teacher.
You know, I think everybody would have the same conclusion. If the teacher really believes there's an issue, you go and see a more experienced, more mature head of department or principal who says, you know what, I'll just give the parent a call. And call the parent and say, look, we have a concern here. And the parent says, no, there's no gun. I mean, it's a toy gun. It's all over at that point. But they don't have the maturity, the experience, or the intelligence, or the decency to do such a thing, and this has resulted. Please stay on this, Kris, because, as I said earlier, this is not unique. I've known such stories in the past, and if people think they're safe from it, it could happen to anyone. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Great work.
Thank you, Michael.